you want. This RAM is really nice. It's pretty fast, and it has RGB. So depending on what color RAM you wanted, and if you wanted it to be RGB or not, you could choose this. You could choose something else. Like the G Skill is a good option for like very basic, not fancy, no RGB one. This RAM is really nice. It's pretty fast, and it has RGB. All right, we'll do. So depending on what color RAM you wanted, and if you wanted it to be RGB or not, add that one and take away the other. You could choose this. You could choose something else. Like the G Skill is a good option. Like 25 bucks like cheaper, very basic, not fancy, no RGB. I gave you a Samsung. This RAM is really nice. It's that one fast, and it has PCIe, NVMe, M2 drive. This is like literally the exact same one that I just put in my computer. It's very nice. It's only like 200 bucks, super fast. I would recommend getting 2 terabytes instead of 1, because a terabyte's still going to cost you like 100 bucks. And since you only have 2 M2 slots anyways, you might as well just get a 2 terabyte now. I wish I would have done that because I ended up just upgrading to a 2 terabyte anyways. And now if I ever want to add another, I'm going to have like tear apart my whole computer, which I probably will never ever do. So, but I would recommend going with a 2 terabyte. I put down for the graphics card, I found this off Amazon. It is the Asus TUF 3090 Ti. Actually, it might not be the Ti. Is it? Holy cow, it's the Ti. Wow. Okay. Well, anyways, it looks like Newegg price is $1099, which is an absurd price for a very good graphics card.
That's a crazy deal.
Yeah, dude, the Asus TUF graphics cards are known to be like really good cooling systems, good build quality, like quiet. Like you will have no issues with a triple fan card like this. Like it'll be quiet, it'll stay cool, it'll last. Like it's a nice card for a very, very cheap price. Like this is what someone would have paid for my card back when they like first came out. And my card's like 2 steps down from that. For the power supply, I chose an EVGA 1000 watt, the G6 Nova. It's probably the nicest power supply you get for around this price point. You're probably going to spend like anywhere from 150 to 200, but EVGA power supplies are really nice. That's the one that I had that I gave to Elijah. I mean, everyone who's ever had an EVGA power supply said they're awesome.
I hate them.
Elijah hates it. So
Elijah's here?
He's back,
well,
yeah.
I set up my OBS, so now we have to play again so I can maintain 60 FPS. And prove the point.
Anyways, so I got that in there. I have Microsoft Windows as the software in there for $0 because we're not letting you buy it. We'll torrent it for you. And then the only other price, or the only other thing you would have to add to this list would be a case. And depending on what you wanted, I don't know, were you like concerned about looks? Did you want it to look fancy? Did you have a certain color scheme you were looking for? Like, did you want to go all white? Did you want to go all black? You don't care at all.
Whatever you recommend.
Whatever I recommend.
Getting the case for free.
That's true. Elijah got lucky that he has nice friends.
The best friends.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'll just have mine out in the open.
I mean, there's a lot of case options. I mean, like
I've always thought that would be awesome to have like a pegboard behind your computer and just have the components.
Yeah, it just has all the parts.
Basically,
dude, have you ever seen like actual like no case builds? They're like crazy. They're all just like open like on a panel. It's wild. They're so cool, but I would never do that. It's kind of risky. But I mean, in terms of cases, there are a ton of options in a ton of different price ranges. Like you could spend like 90 bucks on this, or which one was it? Yeah, the NZXT case here. Simple, fine, basic case, one side window, basic look. It's got good space, like it'd be everything you need. Or you could spend like 150 on like this Corsair one here with
This had to be done sooner or later. One of my dream videos since I started the channel 7 years ago. It is my great pleasure and true honor to finally be able to dive deep into the greatest trilogy in film history, the GOAT itself. Let us explore why I believe the Lord of the Rings trilogy to be a masterpiece. Right, first thing I have to address in this video is that I have done a lot of these why so-and-so is a masterpiece videos over the years, and they typically follow a very specific formula. But due to the sheer size and awesomeness of this trilogy, I will be exploring a few other things that I don't cover quite as much in past videos. The first and main thing here being the actual production of this trilogy. Now, when we talk about filmmaking on YouTube video essays, people tend to stick to the craft side of it. The way the camera moves, how the edit elevates the scene, how the director's style is present in all the most important moments and all that. But what I want to look at here, not only in this video, but perhaps videos in the future, is the actual process of getting it done. They shot for over a year in over 150 locations and 7 different units, shooting sometimes at the same time. That level of mental, emotional, and physical stamina from the entire cast and crew is something the film industry will never see the likes of again. That, for me, is the one aspect of filmmaking the film fans on the internet perhaps are not often made quite as conscious of. And for a trilogy of this magnitude, I have to spread some awareness for that. Think about how many locations they had to get not just people, but equipment up to. Look at the mountains. Just look, right? Imagine how many night shoots they had to do for Helm's Deep. How complicated the lighting setups must have been for all these shots that ended up probably on the cutting room floor. The intricate detail on the costumes and prosthetics that the actors must have woken up at 3 or 4 a.m. just so they can apply the makeup. And then the amount of consecutive days that would have been repeated. The people who made this trilogy, quite frankly, are not human. They are superheroes. Most people can wake up early or finish late or hike up a mountain with some kit, but not everyone can do it for like a year. The strain and stress that has on not just the human body, but the mind is something I do not wish upon my greatest enemy, and yet here we are with the Lord of the Rings team cracking on like a bunch of superpowered professionals. Side note, this is why I completely understand and sympathize with Peter Jackson's desire to shoot The Hobbit with more green screens and all that. But aside from that, I am so in awe of the strength and the willpower that this team had when they made these damn masterpieces, that even if the end result had turned out subpar, I would still have a tremendous amount of respect for them for going the extra mile. Just as I do for those involved in something like Game of Thrones Season 8. I've talked about that endlessly. But of course, in a case like Lord of the Rings, these motherfuckers end up putting their blood, sweat, and tears into something that does so happen to turn out as the greatest 3 films to ever grace our history. So now let's explore why. Peter Jackson. This guy has a vision so damn incredible and filled with so much specificity in all areas. This is somebody who can craft the most compelling conversation scenes with just 2 people sat at a table, and also some of the greatest, most intricate action sequences of all time. That, for me, instantly puts him on the table of goats. When you look at all of the greatest directors, I would say that only Spielberg, Scorsese, Kurosawa, Kubrick, and Lean have done something similar to what Jackson has accomplished here. And by that I mean creating films that have both epic set pieces, but also intimate, character-driven moments. The rest of those on the GOAT list, in my opinion, have not. Hitchcock, for example, has never directed something like this. And James Cameron probably doesn't have quite as much interest in a movie where the first half an hour or so is like this. And Peter Jackson did it all in 3 movies. His range as a filmmaker is maxed out. He has done literally everything on the movie director's bucket list in 3 films. He's got action, adventure, romance, comedy, horror, all in a fantasy setting. He's worked with practical effects, computer-generated effects, fake locations, fake animals, fake people, real people, fake moments, real... Nearly got you there. My point being, the guy could have retired after making these films and still have a legacy as one of the greatest to ever do it. The biggest compliment I could give to Mr. Jackson is that these are the only 3 films in existence that I've watched where I'm not analyzing the filmmaking at every turn. It is so hard for me not to do. Doesn't matter if you're Nolan, Fincher, Tarantino. I never switch off that part of my mind except for these 3 films. That alone should prove how highly I think of them. I could just stop the video now, to be honest, but we haven't even talked about the visuals. Andrew Lesnie shot films and he shot the shit out of them. His camera move, composition, slow-mo. This must be a cinematographer's dream. The amount of locations you shoot and the different styles of people you would light and compose for. This is one of those rare cases where the camera feels like a part of the action at all times, never calls too much attention to itself unless it wants to. And when it does, well, fuck me. This again proves that the big action blockbusters, so to speak, don't always need to be pigeonholed into one aesthetic. You don't need to be super desaturated and grounded and gritty, or super colorful and super vibrant at all times. Perhaps the best way to go about this is the perfect duality created by Jackson and Leslie. There are so many moments where the camera will go crazy and do these movements that to this day I still don't know how they pull it off, but also where they know just to leave it still and let the beauty of the awe and the wonder speak for itself. Also, one thing I just love about the approach to the lighting is a fun fact about Lord of the Rings that you might actually not know about. This isn't actually a joke, you might not actually know about this one. But when they were lighting the nighttime scene for Helm's Deep, someone came up to Peter Jackson apparently and said that this is nighttime. Where is all this lighting coming from? And Jackson replied, it comes from the same place the music comes from, or something like that. And I can't remember exactly, what was said, whatever, but how cool is that? In a world where so much of the film community on the internet has become so accustomed with realism and everything being realistic and nitpicking anything that's not or not believable, here are the goats at Lord of the Rings, not giving a 2 shit flying fuck, and just doing stuff because it's awesome. I mean, just let me play this clip of CGI Legolas again getting on a horse. Come on, like, I just love the philosophy of getting great stories and going all out when it comes to craft. Now, for me personally, this is a weird one, so bear with me, but I think the best example of this philosophy is in the Grond battering ram. Now, I don't know how it's described in the books, I can't really remember, it's been a long time since I read them, but in the movie, I love how there's fire inside the wolf's mouth for no real reason. Again, it might be a purpose in the books, so do correct me if I'm wrong, but when I watched it as a kid, I used to laugh at how the fire was behind the front metal, so you kind of know it's not really going to make a difference when it comes to actually battering the gate. But I just thought that maybe like the blacksmith in Mordor were feeling a bit spicy that day in the design room, so they decided to put fire in there for some extra sauce. This is so good. Also, one point in terms of the battle structure and the structuring of the action. Tons of videos have already been made on the mastery of Helm's Deep, but for me, a moment that always puts a smile on my face is when we hear the elephant horns right here.
Nice, very nice. Thanks.
It's just that bit in the movie where everything's firing on all cylinders, and you're like, how could this get any better? This is already the best battle scene in history, and suddenly a horde of war elephants rock up, and then a ghost army rocks up. Fucking hell, this is so good. Now, as I wrap up my first chapter on filmmaking, it is imperative that I at least give a few minutes to talk about what is arguably the most beloved thing about this entire series of films, Howard Shore's music. Now, I have previously done videos about Inception and La La Land and Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it ends up being Lord of the Rings, where I do a dedicated section on the composer and the music. That should tell you how incredible this score is. Now, I don't know much about music, but when you listen to a score like this, you don't need to know shit, except how insane it is. Every single theme is iconic, and once again, unlike so many film scores nowadays, where they'll say something like, oh, the music should complement the movie, not stand out on its own and all that kind of stuff. Fuck that. If the music is as good as it is in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it speaks for more than just the movie, and it takes on a life of its own. We need more like that. The emotions that Shore is able to elicit is spellbinding. Comfort. Fear. Sheer excitement and power. Sheer excitement and power, but on horses. This score is honestly the best ever. The world will never see its like. J.R.R. Tolkien, arguably one of the greatest, most detailed and imaginative writers of all time. The Hobbit book is actually my all-time favorite book, so it makes sense for me and millions of others to be so in love with this story and its characters. When it comes to Toad, the film balances that so well with moments of levity that turn into something sinister, moments of joy and warmth that come out of peril. Just look at Pippin's song as an example, such an iconic scene. You get this Hobbit with the voice of an angel belting out one of the most iconic songs in film history, whilst this dickhead is munching on some chicken, and his son rides off into battle to face an army of orcs. And that sounds cool, right? But obviously we've all watched Lord of the Rings. We've seen how it actually looks and sounds and feels. Oh my god! And it's the most poetic thing ever. How? Like, how? Mastery of one's craft. That's how. On a thematic level, this is a story of friendship and connection above all else. A story of people from all over the place with different backgrounds and beliefs coming together to help one another and embarking on the adventure of a lifetime, united by a cause, a singular cause, but also by a shared level of willpower, resilience, and determination. What better message is there? What idea more powerful and timeless than that of human connection in trying times? And all this in a film series with elves and dwarves arguing over kill counts, and one of them does his elephant takedown, and the messages and themes still come through more clearly than the political Oscar bait film movies we get today.
I still only have this one. I just have to kill a lot of people.
Those characters, some of the greatest, most iconic characters to ever grace fiction. Without question, the greatest trio in film history. Sean Bean's most iconic death character, maybe tied with Ned Stark. One of the most wholesome mentor-type characters to ever grace the silver screen. Perfectly realized protagonist with enough poise, but also enough space to also be corrupted whilst maintaining likability. You got Théoden King, Kate Blanchett rocks up for a bit and does some cool stuff. The character that started off the motion capture trend, one of the most dynamic and unique performances of all time, thanks to Andy Serkis. This Harvey Weinstein orc thing. The orc with the mini Lego skull on its head, which to this day I still don't know if that's a man or a woman. This top bloke who couldn't hold his bow and single-handedly kickstarted Helm's Deep. The script supervisor who did such a precise job that Orlando Bloom elbows this guy at the exact same moment in both the wide shot and the close-up, leading to one of the coolest, most slept-on edits in the entire trilogy. I know it's not a character, but they deserve a precise job that Orlando Bloom elbows this guy at the exact same moment in both the wide shot and the close-up, leading to one of the coolest, most slept-on edits in the entire trilogy. I know it's not a character who did such a precise job that Orlando Bloom elbows this guy at the exact same moment in both the wide shot and the close-up, leading to one of the coolest, most slept-on edits. It's by the exact same moment in both the wide shot and the close-up, leading to one of the coolest, most slept-on edits in the entire trilogy. I know it's not a character, but they deserve to be one. Leading to one of the coolest, most slept-on edits in the entire trilogy. I know it's not a character, but they deserve to be one. Eowyn, who does more for female characters in big tentpole blockbusters than all of these lot combined. And of course, the single greatest best friend in all of film, Samwise Gamgee. Personally, I see him as the heart of the entire trilogy, and it is ultimately his perseverance, his undying hope in the face of desolation, his faith in people, and his inability to give up during the darkest of moments that make these films shine so damn brightly. Sean Astin, thank you. If Mjolnir existed on Middle-earth, Sam would be the first to lift it. Now, for this section, I usually talk about how the film inspired me to be a filmmaker, blah, 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 whatever, of course. And of course, this trilogy has absolutely played a role in my growth and approach to my job, my love for films and filmmaking. Return of the King, fun fact, was the first ever film I ever saw in cinema, so it's a pretty awesome movie to have as my first ever cinema experience. Apparently, I was dead quiet the entire time, didn't cry once, didn't make any noise. Was so mesmerized by the entire thing that I shut my mouth as a toddler and didn't make a single noise. But that aside, what I really want to talk about on this section briefly, since its effect on me has been made pretty clear at this point, is the trilogy's effect on pop culture and social media and the internet as a whole. Because we live in a world where a lot of fandoms are typically filled up by mostly toxic idiots who don't really know what the hell they're talking about, and quite frankly, ruin the experience for everyone else. The Lord of the Rings franchise, however, probably has the best set of fans because they know they're the best. Even the Hobbit films are pretty good, especially if you pay attention to the craft and the acting. It's a really great set of movies. Whenever there is some kind of disagreement I see on the internet regarding the series of films, it's always conducted in a very intelligent, interesting, and respectful way. This is something I think other fan bases can seriously take from, especially those Star Wars fans. I'm one of them as well, but still. The only real disagreement or debate amongst Rings fans is which of these three films is best. And although personally I believe they're all equally good and there is no objective right answer, I would love to weigh in on what my personal favorite is and why. So I think Return of the King is the best one. This is because I believe it to be an amalgamation of the best elements of the first two films. Fellowship is in many ways the best one because I believe that once they leave Rivendell, the movie is literally flawless. It is this quest movie through and through and a perfect one of that. My only thing is that the opening chunk is a bit slow. And then you move into Two Towers, which is what I like to call the connective tissue movie. It picks up from Fellowship and sets up Return of the King. If you take out Helm's Deep, in my opinion, I would say that it is quite clearly the weakest one, especially if you watch it on the extended edition, which is the only way to watch these films, by the way. On the extended edition, there is some filler, but I think it's really fun filler, and I don't mind. I'm just nitpicking here. But yes, for me, if you take out Helm's Deep, it kind of feels like the Age of Ultron of the trilogy, in that it exists to elevate the other two movies in a way. And I know that a lot of people disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. And then you go into Return of the King, which for me is the best one, because its only real responsibility as a movie is to end the trilogy. So the rest of the 4 hours and 20 minutes or whatever, it's just freedom. And so they really go all out. No emotional stone is left unturned. No set-piece moment is shortchanged. Every scene, every fight, every conversation is the best possible version of itself and then some. This is, in my opinion, as good as films are going to get. And in case you're wondering what some of my favorites are from this series, aside from my favorite film of the three, let me list some of them for you to close out the video. My favorite character is Legolas. Favorite scene, Ride of the Rogue Hero. Favorite fight scene, aside from Helm's Deep, because that's the best one, the Fellowship versus the Goblins in that Moria. Favorite character moment, Boromir's redemption. Favorite moment that gets me close to tearing up, but not quite because it's literally in one movie ever, Gandalf and Éomer charging down and bringing the light in Helm's Deep. Favorite non-action, non-character moment, the lighting of the beacons. Favorite storyline, Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas. Favorite villain, Saruman, but also the Weinstein orc. Favorite death, Haldir, because he looks like the guy who just realized he drank way too much in Prees and is now about to chunder right after arriving at the club. Favorite shot, can't choose one, there's too many options. Favorite theme / piece of music, can't choose one, there's too many options. Favorite line.
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend? I can do that.
And also honorable mention to OK Toes. And finally, favorite moment that inspired me as a filmmaker and I've drawn from all my work. That's a trick question. It's the entire bloody trilogy, because Lord of the Rings, say it with me, is a masterpiece.
Purina One has the inside story on your